Alright, I'm back, and today we are going to be reviewing Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Now, this is the second of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Again, I don't have the DVDs, or the theatrical ones. I have the extended versions, which, again, if you want to see the best versions of these, you gotta get the extended versions. They're a must. Going without saying, spoilers ahead. So if you guys, you guys know what a spoiler warning is. This is your spoiler warning. This is all you get. This is the second installment. We get a lot more action in this movie. It's a little bit so slow paced at times, but we end up with a lot more action in this movie than we did in the last movie. It starts out with Frodo and Sam, and they're wandering around trying to get into Mordor. They come across Gollum. Gollum helps them out after they capture him. So, we get that story going on. Now, the Frodo and Sam story is entertaining, but it is a lot slower paced. And I'll just go through it real quick, all their important stuff that happened. Then we'll go to the good stuff. So you get Frodo and Sam and now Gollum, and they're wandering through the woods. They find the dead marshes. They have to hide from Nazgul. Then they get to the Black Gates. They try to get in, but Gollum stops them and says, "Hey, if you go in there, you're dead. They're going to kill you." And then Sauron will have the ring, and then everything will end. And then they try and sneak around, and they get captured by Faramir. Yeah. Boromir's brother. And they get brought back to Gondor, because he's going to deliver the ring to his father, the Steward of Gondor. And then he has a change of heart at the last minute and lets him go. Orcs attack the little city that they're in, Osgiliath. Ringwraiths show up, and Frodo and Sam slip out with Gollum. That's really all there was to that, to all their sequences. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of action when it comes to Frodo and Sam, and that's, again, true to the source material. They're not warriors. They're not supposed to be warriors. You're not going to run out and hack your way through enemy troops and go into Mordor to drop the ring into Mount Doom. You want to be sneaky and stealthy. So sending these two hobbits with Gollum was the best idea, because those two could slip by unseen for the most part and get close enough to drop the ring in. So, like I said, it's boring, but it should be. It's almost like an espionage movie, and those things are boring as shit because they are just... a true espionage story or a true spy story is not going to be like a James Bond movie. It's going to be a lot more stealth and a lot more research and sneaking around and sneaking into places that you're not supposed to be. Because if you end up getting into a big, gunfight, you're a terrible spy. So it makes sense with these guys. There's not much to their story. You get a little character development with Faramir and Gollum in this one, but not much on that end. Now we turn our attention over to Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. Now here's where the story really picks up. Merry and Pippin in the previous movie got hijacked by the Uruk-hai that Saruman had sent. And so they're trying to trace down these orc. And, of course, the Riders of Rohan got in the way and killed them all. And told them that we killed everything. And so they think the hobbits are dead. But in truth, Merry and Pippin snuck away from the camp. Or they were able to get out of the camp. They had a couple orc chase after him, regular orc this time, not Uruk-hai, just regular looking orcs. So they chase him into Fangorn Forest. So they get Aragorn and company get some horses from the riders, and they ride over there. which comes to a really cool scene because I watched the behind the scenes on all these, and there's a scene where Aragorn's really pissed off, so he kicks this orc helmet and screams. Turns out, in all actuality, he broke his toe when he kicked the helmet. I guess they filmed that thing like 6 times, and he finally just gave up or he kicked the thing and broke his toe, and he get this scream that was just gut wrenching, and everyone's like, "Oh, that was pretty good. Can you do it again?" He's like, "No, I broke my toe," and they're like, "Oh, let's keep the shot." So it was pretty cool. I did really enjoy that. The story behind it. I mean, before you hear that story, it's just another scene. But you hear that story, and you're like, "Huh, that's pretty cool." Something about somebody breaking a bone on screen being immortalized forever in the movie. That's pretty awesome. So then they go in the Fangor Forest, and they come across with the White Wizard, which they thought was Saruman, and it turns out it was Gandalf. So Gandalf rejoins their quest to save Rohan. They left Merry and Pippin in the branches, I guess, of Treebeard, and he's going to take care of them. And they went out and had a meeting with the trees. So Merry and Pippin's story is actually more entertaining than Sam and Frodo's, because they're doing more stuff. They're trying to build an army of Ents, and we'll get back to that later. So the main company gets to I can't remember the name of the town, but the capital of Rohan, to find that King Theoden has been poisoned by Grimer Wormtongue, and so Gandalf heals him real quick, has a quick battle with Saruman, and casts Saruman out. And now they're like, okay, now you're healed, now you can focus on what the new problem is, and that is Saruman sending orcs over here. And Theoden responds with, okay, let's go to Helm's Deep. And Gandalf's not too thrilled about that because it's a death trap. He knows it's a death trap, but nobody's listening to him. Nobody ever listens to Gandalf. I mean, you'd think that after a while you'd start listening to Gandalf after shit like this happens. Just, okay, whatever you say, buddy. So they go there. Gandalf rides off to go find the Riders of Rohan. They get in a fight with some Wog Riders on the way. I mean, it's an entertaining scene by all means. It's a very good scene. But it's nothing compared to what's coming. Aragorn gets knocked out and falls into the river, and he washes up a little closer to Saruman's tower. I can't remember how to pronounce that. Orthanc? Anyway. So he washes up there, and he gets a horse, which in the extended version you get to see where that horse came from. This was the Theoden's son's horse that he released in Rohan, because he was too wild, and everyone's like, he's too wild, he's too much of a wild horse. Aragorn calms him down and then takes off all his stuff and just says, you know what, he's free to go, he's seen enough bloodshed. Well, he comes back and saves Aragorn. He pulls him out of the water. So it's one of those kind of cool scenes that you don't really understand without getting the extended version. Again, the extended version, this one I think adds like 30 or 40 minutes of movie to this long movie as it was. And that was one of those scenes. Just prior to that, there's a scene when Eowyn, the niece of Theoden, asks him, where's the girl that gave you the necklace, and he goes into this huge memory of him saying goodbye to him and stuff like that. Again, that's things that did not happen in the theatrical version, and things that we would have missed had we not seen this version. So it was pretty cool to see stuff like that. But anyway, he washes up near Sauron's domain and realizes that the orc army is on the way to Helm's Deep, and this is not just any orc army. This is a fully fledged Uruk-hai army, full armor, full weapons, with gunpowder. Now, this is one thing that Peter Jackson changed. Now, there were Uruks in the original stories, and I believe there were a few Uruk-hai, but this army was mostly from Mordor. They were orcs that Sauron sent to Saruman to send into battle. And that was one of those things that, again, they changed from the original story, but I think it works a little bit better because, you get a huge army of orcs, and quite frankly, they're not that impressive when you really think about it. In the Hobbit Battle of Five Armies, those were Uruks that were fighting. Those were impressive. In the third movie, it's an orc army, and they're not that impressive. 10,000 of them would be nothing. But in the third movie, it was a lot more, and we'll get into that when we get to the third movie. They're swarm armies. That's what regular orcs are. But Uruk-hai are not swarm armies. They're regular army. They can fight just as well as anybody else. But this is 10,000 of them, or over 10,000, because Aragorn says 10,000 at least, and against a bunch of peasants. I mean, that's pretty much all you got. A few warriors, but for the most part, you're peasants. As good as your defenses are with Helm's Deep, they're peasants. Then a bunch of elves show up and try and help out. I think 300 of them. So you end up with I think it was 300 men. And you get a cool exchange between Legolas and Aragorn where Legolas is like, they're all going to die. 10,000 versus these? You're dead. And then the elves show up and it's like, okay, we got a few more numbers, but still, I mean, 6,000 warriors, no matter how good they are, against 10,000. This is like 300 kind of shit going on here. Only difference is that the Uruks are a lot better than just regular peasants. In 300, they're fighting slaves. Yeah, there was a lot of them, but they're slaves at the end of the day. These are Uruk-hai. I mean, they are just heavily armored. They've got better weapons. Just an awesome army. I love this army. Actually, right after I watched this movie, I went out to my local Games Workshop and bought a huge box of Uruk-hai because I was like, yes! And then I found out they're 25 millimeter miniatures, not 28 millimeter scale. So they're actually a lot smaller. In terms of, for you Transformer guys out there, that'd be like trying to throw a classic scale figure into a Masterpiece collection. It just doesn't work. As good as the classic might be, it's just not the right scale. Anyway, so we get this huge battle of Helm's Deep. This by far, I mean, this sells this movie. Another thing that they changed is that the Uruk-hai have gunpowder, and they're using that to breach walls. In the books, it was Saruman in his palace shooting fireballs across the sky. Now, on the one hand, I would kind of like to see something like that in the movie because that would be kind of fun. But at the same time, it was also kind of cool to see. Sauron even points this out earlier on that it's the industry of the orc that drives the power, and these orc are 100. I mean, they got crossbows, they've got bombs. I mean, they just, I mean, they know how to fight better than what the people that they're fighting against. The people they're fighting against are just typical guys, and they're not expected to see the wall blow up because there was a bomb put there. So it was really fun to watch. Great battle, great action sequences. I mean, you get Aragorn and Gimli jumping across the bridge and defending a little tiny wall, just the two of them. You got Legolas sliding down on Urok's shield, firing arrows as he's going, because that's what an elf would do. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this movie. And then you get more extended scenes because Sam and Mary, they get the Ents to come in, and they attack Saruman's tower and destroy all the orc refineries and stuff there. In the extended version, you also find out that the wild trees had moved closer to Helm's Deep, so when the orcs retreated, they retreated into the woods, and these woods killed them all. Which is, I believe, happened in the book. Because Gandalf, at the last minute, he shows back up with the Riders of Rohan, and they charge into battle. The Uroks have been fighting for, a couple days, I think, straight, so they're a little tired, and, they've been battling, and a lot of them have died already, so 1,000 horsemen, trained warriors, charging in battle, they're not gonna do so good, especially if the humans are being led by a wizard. So all in all, it was a lot of fun. This movie was absolutely great. There's not a thing in this movie that I would change. Like I said, Peter Jackson did take a couple liberties here and there that I noticed, and those liberties that he took were actually for the better, in my opinion. Like I said, I mean, the bombs that helped deep were better, stuff like that, and then the Urok army itself. I think it worked really well. I don't know how you could brew that many orcs in a couple months, but apparently you can. But yeah. So Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, I'm going to give it a solid 10 out of 10. This is at this time, this was the best movie I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, there you go. Tomorrow we'll do The Return of the King, and then after that we'll get back on a regular Transformers schedule.